Why does it feel like some people can't just lose, and every time they lose a match, they have to make a post about it saying, oh, I lost because of this, and this, and this, and never just because, oh, hey, I just wasn't the better person today. So today what we're going to look at on the channel is my top 6, it's supposed to be 5, but I couldn't decide which ones to cut, top 6 types of excuses. Let's get into it. So obviously not everybody falls in this category, and it's actually probably a very small number of people, but it always just irks me a little bit when I see like somebody lose a match and then they have to explain why they lost the match, and maybe the reason is legitimate, maybe it's not. The point is, we don't need to hear your excuses about why you lost the match. You just lost, and that's okay. People lose sometimes. I lose a lot. So now we're going to go into the categories of excuses, but my favorite thing about all this is that no matter which category we're talking about, I love when these posts start with no excuses but. The no excuses but, and then followed by a bunch of excuses. So if you're playing along, just picture the post. It's probably a picture of the person doing like one good thing. Maybe they had a really good match. I don't know. But they were doing something good in their picture, and then it says no excuses but, and then it's followed by the excuses. So let's start out. Category 1 is going to be weight class based excuses. I see this one all the time. These ones include such things as, oh man, I normally compete at X weight, but I decided to compete at X weight today, and that's why I lost. Or, you know, I didn't even cut for this match, implying that their opponents probably cut, like 50 pounds and did a huge MMA weight cut. Guys, if you're MMA fighters, I know cutting's a big part of your sport, wrestlers too. Jiu-jitsu, we cut, but it's not the same, for the most part, generally speaking. And so when you're saying, oh, I lost because my opponent did this big weight cut and I decided not to cut, it's like, hey man, MMA fighters and wrestlers realize that everybody else is cutting, I have to cut. So you can cut or not, but it's not why you lost, typically. I actually once had that where I competed a weight class up. I was way underweight, and the guy smashed me. And the guy smashed me not because he was 30 pounds heavier than me, but because he was really good at jiu-jitsu. And that was that. He was just better. He was just better than me. I also love my opponent usually competes at. Now they take all of the onus off of themselves. At least before they were like, I usually compete at this. Sometimes people will say, oh, my opponent usually competes at this higher weight class, but they cut down to this weight class, and I'm a natural in this weight class. So I love the weight class-based excuses, and the solution for all that is, oh, weight classes exist, so just compete in, the weight class that you're not going to make excuses in, which for a lot of these people, there isn't one. So now one I think a lot of people are going to relate to, the injury or illness-based excuses. Oh man, I was ready for my match, but then, I had a hard day in the training room last Thursday, and then 7 months ago I sprained my finger, and I just wasn't feeling. We're all injured. We're all injured. This is what we're doing. We're fighting other grown people as a hobby. You're gonna be injured. Everybody going into every match is injured at some point. Nobody, I don't think in the history of combat sports, has gone into a match going, I feel physically perfect. There's always something. So when you're gonna make that excuse post that, oh man, I'm injured, or I was sick, or this, or that, or the other thing. That's cool. So was the other person. And maybe they're posting about it, maybe they're not. Because there is another side to this, which I wanted to get into, where like, sometimes people win and then they post this kind of stuff, but we're going to stick at the losses for now. Yeah, the classic, oh, had a tough camp, and or like, oh, yeah, last week I was throwing up, but I still went out there and gave it my all. It's like, okay, cool, cool. Moving on. Next is the work-related excuses. Now, I love these because the injury one, yes, we're all injured. But maybe you just somehow don't comprehend that we're all injured. But when people come out with these work-related ones, such as, I have a full-time job, I had a really stressful work week, this work thing got in my way, I couldn't train because of work, etc. I know some of the top people in jiu-jitsu. Tippity top. Most of them have jobs. Now there's exceptions, and some of them their job is being a gym owner. Fair enough. Still a job, still a very difficult job. Short of that, short of like, I don't know, like, I'll say 10 people in our sport, everybody has a job. We have to make money. I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but back in the early days of the NFL, these guys would like go play a football game and then go work as a mechanic. This is very normal for a new up-and-coming sport where there's not a ton of money in it yet. So everybody has a job. So you had a hard week at work. Maybe you did, but the other person very well might have too. So that excuse really just becomes voided. This one really blows my mind. I just feel like for some reason I've been seeing it more lately. I don't know if because more people in our sport are able to train full time. I don't know. But everybody's got a job. So shut up. Next is the skill-based excuses. Now, I love these because it typically happens at probably lower belt levels, although I've definitely heard some like variations of these at upper belt. Things like, oh man, like, in my gym, we don't practice heel hooks. Or in my gym, we don't do a lot of wrestling and that guy out wrestled me. And okay, typically that was pretty evident by the performance. People aren't really going to just like attack you where you're strongest. So either they, one, did their research and knew about you before the match and said, okay, this gym doesn't do a lot of wrestling. I'm good at wrestling. I'm going to wrestle. Or they were attempting to do something in a match, realize this person's good at defending, and switch their game plan mid-match. So yeah, they're going to attack the thing you're bad at. And of course, there's so many matches where, the person you can just get caught. Like, you can be really good. Maybe you are really good at defending heel hooks usually. And it just so happens you get caught. That's fine. But sometimes people have this weird thing where they're like, oh, this is the one thing I'm not good at. Anything else, if they threw it at me, I would have defended. But they knew the one thing that I'm not good at. Okay, so they either did their homework or you're lying. Or some combination of those two. This skill-based excuses, I like to put in, or I put in this category, I decided to try something new and that's why I lost. Okay, fair enough. I've done that in matches. This match is very low stakes. I want to try something new. This has been working in the gym for me, and the ultimate way that I test what I'm working on is go into a competition, even if it's not a super high level competition. But if I lose because of that, I'm not going to be, I was trying something new. That's the only reason I lost is because I was trying something new. Yeah, you might lose if you try something new. That's kind of the risk you're playing. And then you can go back and go to your gym and now fix your issue. And then my last excuse in this skill-based excuse category is when people enter a gi or a no-gi tournament, and then they lose, and then they talk about how they really only trained the other one. So I lost a gi tournament, but my gym mostly does no-gi, and that's why I lost. And then sometimes like when people are real insecure, and they go like, oh, well, if this was no-gi, I would have beat him. It's just like, hey, dude, it's not. Or if this was gi, I would have got. There's probably another gi tournament going on right now that you could enter, but you didn't. You entered this one. So, skill-based excuses, working our way through the rule-based excuses. These are great. I see these ones used a lot when people are like, oh, I practice with high-level people all the time, and yeah, I'm a white belt in an IBJF tournament, but I have to reap, so I'm just so used to reaping. And you're just like, dude, learn the rules. If that's going to be such an issue that you can't win or you can't roll around in your gym without doing this thing, like practice in your gym with the rule set. There's no excuse for not knowing the rule set. And this drives me crazy when I see people in tournaments. And if you're a judge or you're a ref out there, I'm sure you face palm just as much as I do, or if you're a coach. When you see people just do something blatantly illegal and then they're like, what? Oh, I didn't know that was against the rules. And like, dude, you just wasted everybody's time here. And now, not only did you waste anyone's time here, but you're going to go and you're going to post and I was winning that match, but I didn't know blah, blah, blah was illegal. I have seen this happen so many times. That can easily transition into when people are like, oh, it's stupid that I got DQ'd for breaking this rule. This should be legal. Okay, that's cool. That is not the time to be arguing that. You went in, you knew the rules, shut up. Last one in this category is my absolute favorite of all the excuses. I have a personal vendetta with this one. Some people aren't going to like this one, but that's okay. And I'm not traditionally a guard puller in competition. I typically stand up, I will pull guard. I don't have anything against pulling guard. I think as long as you are operating within the rule set of the match, pulling guard is a very viable thing to do. If you are going against somebody who is a better wrestler than you, and you have a strong guard, and the rule set allows it, pull a guard. So people love to get on the internet and say, yeah, I would have won if this coward didn't just butt scoot towards me. Dude, go join a wrestling tournament. I cannot tell you how tired I am. I might make a whole video on this topic alone. If you don't like guard pulling, don't compete in jiu-jitsu. Go compete in MMA. Go compete in wrestling. There's plenty of places you can do both of those things. But if you don't like guard pulling and you enter a sub-only Brazilian jiu-jitsu tournament where guard pulling is perfectly legal, you cannot then go make an excuse online about how this guy wouldn't even engage. Now, it's different if they're butt scooting and not engaging. You might have something there, although technically within the rule set. But that's the same as somebody standing and not engaging. It doesn't matter if you're standing or sitting. Not engaging is not engaging. That's not the issue. I know plenty of people that sit their butt right down at the beginning of a match and scoot for people's legs and leg lock, sweep, whatever. They do that. Some reason people think that they're allowed to get on their big high horse, even though it's perfectly within the rules of the tournament, of the match. And they can say like, oh, well, I would have won, but this guy, didn't want to wrestle me. And it's like, yeah, bro, you're from Ohio, been wrestling since you were 7 and wrestled D1. I'm from Connecticut. I never even heard of wrestling until I was in high school. You think I'm going to wrestle with you? Not happening. Moving on. Okay, and then this is the bonus one. I said 6 categories. This should be a top 5 video for SEO purposes, but I had 6 categories, and I didn't want to get rid of one. So this is kind of like a catch-all. Basically the anything but admitting that you were not the better person that day. The getting online and you just feel like you have to say something to your 400 followers. And you have to say, oh, I would have won, but I didn't have a coach that day at this local grappling tournament. But that's why I lost, because my coach, wasn't able to be there. I had a conversation with a friend about this one because he submitted it when I posted this prompt on Instagram. And I had gotten this one time. Somebody came up to me and said, hey man, my jiu-jitsu is normally better than that. I just had a huge adrenaline dump. And I was like, oh, sure, cool. Yeah, man, like no problem. It happens, right? That's part of the fun of competing. And then he kind of insisted that he would have won had he not had that adrenaline dump, which I thought was very bizarre because I was in that same exact tournament and it probably also had some sort of adrenaline dump. We were standing across the map from each other. We were in the same exact circumstance, and yet he had an adrenaline dump, and that's why he lost. And I don't even really remember that match. I don't remember if I won by submission or by points. I don't remember really anything about it other than that guy came up to me afterwards and said that. And I don't know if it made it online, but I just thought it was funny. I had another friend bring that up, so I wanted to cover it. And then, speaking of tournaments, the classic tournament excuse. This is really the classic tournament excuse. Probably happens at local tournaments that aren't as well run as like some of the bigger ones. I had back-to-back matches. I know what you're thinking, but that's a good excuse. But that's a legitimate reason. They might have been tired if their opponent got to rest for, 4 matches and they had to go immediately do one. Fair enough. I just don't want to hear about it. Or if you do want to post about it, you can say something like, wow, really tough day, had to do back-to-back matches, really got to test my cardio, really. As long as you're not using, and this goes for anything here, as long as you're not using them as an excuse to why you lost, you can post whatever you want. Happy to support you, and I understand things happen. Maybe you did have a work-related issue. Maybe you're sick. Maybe this, maybe that. Great. The whole overarching thing is not to say that those things can't be a factor in your performance. The whole overarching point of all this is that shut up. That's it. So let me know what you guys think. Are there more types of excuses that I missed? If you want to be involved in the next one of these, I'm having a lot of fun putting up prompts on my my Instagram story and then having people write in. I did that with another video I made and with this one, so I think we're going to keep that trend going. So if you want to be a part of the next one, you can follow at People Doing Martial Arts. If you would like a cool hat like this with an alien on it, or I have like t-shirts, and actually we have rain jackets now, which are really cool. You can head over to PDMAstore.com. And of course, if you guys like the content on this YouTube channel, please make sure you subscribe. It really, really helps me out. And I will see you guys in the next video.